Hey, greetings there again, my Christmas movie hounds. We are here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. In the last episode, we kept reading Cycle of Hatred, and one of the characters was killed by that old and pesky burning blade. And we've also been reading the Dungeons and Dragons as campaign setting, so we're going to keep doing this as we go on our side part, and we're looking at the World of Warcraft Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting. This is part 2, Equipment, which begins with Chapter 8, Equipping a Character. Now, this might be largely Dungeons and Dragons based, so we'll skim through that, but this gives us the wealth and the starting wealth by level. It says, what's a sneaky GM trick here? Let's see. There are enough horrific goings on in Azeroth to justify starting characters off with nothing. No gold, no weapons, no equipment. The heroes have the clothes on their backs and nothing else. Even if the story calls for the heroes to survive on their wits alone, you need to remember to be creative and somewhat generous with the items the PCs find to allow them to fashion weapons or armor. Allowing the Alliance PCs to escape their prison in the Orc encampment does them little good if you do not allow them to find a weapon or two after defeating their captors. Alright, that makes sense. So you can have starting packages. They do a really good job with that now in the current 5th edition. A la carte shopping, sure. It's one thing I've always found when I play Dungeons and Dragons is you find all this gold, and then what do you do with it? There's not tons, because not very many places where you can buy magical items. So once you've kitted out with the starting gear, what are you going to do? Technological devices, and they talk about that. So siege engines, firearms, grenades. Goblin merchants, let the buyer beware. And goblin merchants, we don't take plastic. Goblins are a capitalistic bunch, and most buyers sell anything to make a profit. Goblin merchants love to haggle, have excellent wares, and are too smart to be cheated, or so they claim. Most big cities have at least one stationary goblin merchant shop managed by a goblin family. The heads of the family run the shop while the younger goblins travel the land to find, buy, or steal the inventory. They sell to anyone, alliance, horde, or independent. Some even deal with demons if the price is right. Some goblins drive their carts from town to town, buying and selling as they go. These carts look rickety and secondhand, but the appearance is likely a diversion. A goblin's cart is usually in perfect driving condition. The goblin never knows when he may have to leave town quickly or outrun an enraged customer. These merchants are often less than reputable and more likely to have items that they cannot identify themselves. The GM must determine if such a goblin indeed knows what he is selling, and the PCs must choose whether or not to take a chance with a mysterious ring or potion. Goblin merchant houses, like from Warcraft 3, are not necessarily places to avoid, however. Often a hero can discover hard-to-find items, even rare or magic items, within the walls. As long as the hero is able to spot a bad deal, it should be safe for him to enter. And for the other, not taking plastic. The goblins are an unbending lot, refusing any sort of barter and demanding to be paid only in gold. There's a saying around Ratchet, if a traveling goblin merchant was starving to death and someone offered to trade food for the goblin's merchandise, he'd starve before he accepted anything but gold. A customer who enters a goblin shop intending to barter finds himself laughed out into the street. The goblins do not even allow their employees to receive discounts or work for merchandise. Goblins deal only in gold. The merchants accept gold in any form and have precise scales to aid their customers. Goblins accept recently minted mine nuggets, pan dust, or defaced alliance gold coins that would be refused in other areas. They are grumpier about accepting silver, but do so. That's it. So that's all Chapter 8 was basically just describing weapon money and how to spend it. So we'll read Chapter 9 too. Weapons, armor, and shields. So weapon categories are simple, martial, and exotic. Exotic is something they've done away with. Melee and ranged. And then light, one-handed, and two-handed melee, or that's like a subcategory. Weapon size matters. Improvised weapons, like, if you beat someone with the leg of a table. And firearms. This is the relatively new dwarven invention. There's also gunpowder that you have to buy. So, fire in the hole, it says gunpowder has MR1. Imbued gunpowder has MR2. I don't remember what MR means. That's not a thing anymore. On a malfunction rate, maybe? On a malfunction, the gunpowder uncontrollably detonates. Okay, so it's just basically describing that aspect, which is not a thing in World of Warcraft, but they're just So this is where this takes on a life of its own, because they're saying, hey, we could have these things like technology, but this is how it would act in a Dungeons and Dragons setting. Says it also, if you roll a natural 1, you also detonate. Weapon qualities, and so now this is just setting us up for what are the different types. So what weapon types do we have? Of course, arrows, a ball pistol, bayonet, a miniature bayonet, blunderbuss, bolas, bolts, bombs. Some of these aren't even really in there. I guess, I don't know that even there's a bola skill in Diablo. There is. Here's the weapon table, 2-page, 3-page weapon table. Catapult bombs, in-place bombs, grenade bombs, rifle bullets, sling bullets, spiked chain. What is that? Like a, I guess, yeah, oh, it's just a long chain with spikes on it. Okay, I was thinking in my mind like a morning, not a morning star, like a flail, but the orc claws of attack are still there. The dire, they're 12-inch claws, fist weapon. Orcs treat them like martial weapons instead of exotic. Hand crossbows, heavy crossbows, light crossbows, daggers. I'll just only mention the ones that are separate from Dungeons and Dragons. Flintlock pistol, that's not really there. A metal gauntlet, I think that, and spike gauntlet, yeah, those are. Glaive is new. It has reach, and you can only hit it with reach. A Tauren halberd is a massive axe blade with a wicked spike attached to the long staff. If you ready an action to set a Tauren halberd against a charge, you deal double damage if you score a hit against a charging character. And Tauren treat them as martial weapons. A dwarven battle hammer is a larger, heavier warhammer. It's an exotic weapon because you have to use it in 2 hands. One-handed, it would be exotic, I see. There's also dwarven tossing hammers. Here's some pictures of some of the things. Long rifle. These are the things that are distinct to this. The Tauren halberd, the moon glaive, bombs, mortars, orc claws of attack, a warblade, flintlock pistols, blunderbuss, dwarven throwing hammer. So that's cool. There's that long rifle. It says it requires 2 hands. The stats are up there on the table. The moon glaive is just as it doesn't really say. They're just a type of glaive, I guess. Mortars. Okay. That's the warblade. The Tauren totem is a massive weapon. You have to have a strength of 15 or greater, or use exotic weapon proficiency to even use it. It has brain splattering power. There's the dwarven war axe. Warblade is a finely balanced sword that winds and curves near the tip. You can use the weapon finesse feat to apply your agility modifier instead of your strength modifier to attack rolls made with the warblade sized for you, even though it's not a light weapon for you. You cannot wield the warblade in 2 hands in order to apply 1.5 times your strength bonus to damage. Okay, war glaive. It says if you're proficient, you can use it in 2. You can dual wield them, basically. That's cool. Oh, that's more like what Illidan has. That says you can attach them together. That's cool. Okay, and then masterwork weapons is a previous thing where you could just make a weapon slightly better. Armor and shields. This is the basic stat blocks for that. Is there anything that's a locked gauntlet? Is maybe new. I guess you lock a weapon or shield onto it so you can't drop it, but then you can't use that hand. That's the trade-off. Nothing unique to other. Yeah, this is just generic Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And then you've got masterwork armor as well. And rules on how to use armor. Here's the special materials of the game. Adamantine, Arcanite, Dragonhide, Mithril, Thorium. So what's the difference really here? So going in order, you can just tell from the cost. Adamantium is less valuable than Arcanite, which is less than Dragonhide. Well, it's hard to say because that's for weapon. Oh, these are, I see. And then Dragonhide is less than Thorium. All right. I mean, I guess we can peek at goods and services too. Why not? This is all just generic stuff. This is all standard equipment from Dungeons and Dragons. That's a cool picture. Some alliance people. All four of the main races. It looks like gnome, dwarf, human, night elf. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything that's not Dungeons and Dragons, so go ahead and skip on out of that. The different class tools and kits. The only thing I'm seeing different is phlogiston. An odorless, weightless, and almost undetectable, it makes steam technology practical by speeding combustion and increasing the heat produced by steam boilers. In addition to its application in technological devices, phlogiston has found its use in elixirs that alter the imbiber's abilities for a short time. Many technological devices use phlogiston as fuel. Okay, that's the only thing that's not quite the same. I don't see any new clothing that's different. Mounts, food, drink. This is all like a standard D&D chapter. Okay, other than for mounts, you could have griffins and panthers of night saber type. I don't see much else. Yeah. Oh, I'm fine. We'll just blast through this entire part because it's so just tables and lists basically. But this last one is technological devices. So what does it say? Define the primary. So how to create them. Define the primary function. Set the technology score and determine its features. And they give some examples. So moving devices are complex. He wants to make, what's he want to make? He decides to make steam armor. That's cool. And they just basically go to how he could make it and what it would look like, which is, so it's crafting and it's getting into the professions. Step 3, determine the complexity score. Step 4, decide time factor. This is, and I think it's interesting because now professions, they really put a lot into it in the Dragon Isles, where it's actually getting closer to this than we've ever had before. Step 5, determine a malfunction rating. Step 6, calculate the market value. And here's the step 7, fill out the details. So this is really just how to make your own stuff. Let's look more at this phlogiston sidebar. The miracle substance driving most technology in the world of Warcraft is phlogiston, a gas collected from the air. For more information on this process, see Chapter 5, Temple of Boom of Magic and Mayhem, and distilled into vials of liquid phlogiston, a precise mixture of oil, water, and phlogiston gas. Liquid phlogiston allows smaller boilers to burn at the tremendous temperatures and pressures that enable portable tinker technology and gigantic vehicles to operate. Unless specified elsewhere, along with other fuel requirements, phlogiston-powered devices require 1 vial of liquid phlogiston per week. Vehicles may require anywhere between 1 and 20 vials per week or more based on their size and weight. A phlogiston vial weighs a quarter pound and has a market value of 20 GP as described in Chapter 10. That's interesting. This is just continuing to walk you through it. Step 8, actually build the device. Add-ons and upgrades, so scopes and stuff like that. So this is really tapping into that whole engineering profession, which is my favorite profession. And how to collaboratively construct masterwork devices, malfunctions, repairs, special and favored materials. So each race, dwarves prefer gunpowder, high elves like dragonhide, night elves and gnomes don't have any, which is weird. You'd think gnomes would. Goblins like adamantine, humans like mithril, orcs like thorium and arcanite, taurens don't. Never trust technology because it can malfunction. And these are the different malfunction effects. Just a couple. We'll just look at a function lock. Can't use it. Total failure. Kickback. Self-destructive. A pain machine. phlogiston explosion. This is a submarine goblin sub. Vehicles, movement, and maneuverability. So just talking about how fast they can move, clumsy or not, with maneuverability in combat. Here's some sample technological devices. Goblin army knife, basic boomstick. Yeah, so some of these goblin army, no, the goblin army knife is basically there. Says it comes with rope, a fishing rod, and a tent. It does something differently. Basically, you don't have to have profession things if you have that. Basic boomstick, that's something you can build. It's just a dynamite that you can build with engineering. A gnomish battle chicken, pretty sure that's actually in the game too, as like a decoy thing. Gnomish combat armor, I don't think you can build that. Goblin jumper cables, love it. Can revive a dead character. That is one of the best parts back in the day of being a goblin. I mean, of being an engineer. A pulley gun is like a grappling gun, but I don't think that that's in the game. A repeating pistol, sure, you can build guns. Goblin rocket boots, yes, you can build that. It gives you a little burst. Gnomish universal remote, I don't know. Don't know what it does. Oh, you can control constructs with it. And, of course, the Granddaddy Goblin Zeppelin. All right, so we read that entire second part. Towards the end, we have some of these cool descriptions of the different things. That's really, if I hadn't done all those other ones first, I would have spent some time just reading that. But we get the gist. I don't think we're missing anything for not reading. The fact that the Goblin Zeppelin can hold 2,600 pounds of cargo and flies at a speed of 15 miles per hour with the maneuverability of clumsy. Like, even if we were to read it, it's still very technical rules for Dungeons and Dragons. But we've got all the equipment minus magic equipment, all the standard non-magical equipment, all wrapped up and ready to go in that campaign setting. Cool. Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening to this one that is now in the pipe 5x5. Ho, ho, ho.